Hello folks, and welcome back to the building of this Flair Fokker D7. Today's task, for me at least, will be to install this engine. It'll be installed and then removed, but at the moment, the way it is, it would be impossible to fit in to the plane as it is with the exhaust on without doing damage. So what I think I'm going to have to do is to make a removable hatch here, because I want the exhaust to exit straight down. I don't want any exhaust sticking out the side, and I want just the tip of the exhaust pipe to protrude the bottom. Keeps the model relatively clean and also looks much better. And this space here you can see, and here have been painted, and the interior with fuel-proof enamel paint, and this area will house the dummy engine, and I may embark on that actually once I've got this part done and then put it to one side. Unfortunately, as I say, the exhaust won't be able to come out from the bottom and get this in. It's quite a manoeuvre to get it in, and then, well, it just won't work. So what I'm going to do is make a hatch here that'll be lock in place with magnets, and it'll be fairly inobtrusive, I hope. Let's get cracking. So I think you can see the setup here with this adapter, and once this is taped up, this actually needs to be that way around, which can be done. Once it's all taped up and set so it's not going to move anywhere, that's how I would like to install it. So it'll go in now like this, drop in place, and if I tilt you over the top, you can see, I hope, that exhaust actually exits through a hole on the bottom of this plate, and there'll be an extension tube taking it out to take the exhaust out of the fuselage altogether. So I need to get this taped up so that it's all tight, and I'm happy with it. Mark the location for the control for the needle valve, and there'll need to be a corresponding one. Or will there? I think this may be an air bleed cob. Yes, it is. So I don't need a hole drilling on the other side. So there we go. That's how I intend doing it. Now, obviously, I've cut this piece out here, and I'm going to make a hatch now. Perhaps we'll video that part. Make a hatch, and we'll locate it in place with magnets, and then I think it'll look the business and be fairly inobtrusive when it's completed. I have a piece of 8th balsa here. I'll put it in position to make this hatch, and mark on the outline of it. We'll cut that out and see how it goes, see if we can keep the shape. I'm cutting on the inside of the line that I've just drawn. Keep the shape of the hatch that we want. So that would fit on like that. Little bit needs taking off. These little nail file manicure files are really handy for working with soft balsa like this. So that would work there. Yeah, I think that would work. So I'm going to glue that onto this piece, and that'll give a little bit of strength to it. Do that now. and we'll set a magnet or a couple of magnets into this end plate and a couple into this end plate, and hopefully they'll be enough to hold everything in position. Oh, well, that didn't go well, did it? We can sort that out. A little bit of sea here. As it's a hatch, I think I'll put some ply on the inside of this to strengthen it, but I need the soft balsa to embed the magnets in, I think. We'll see. So, it goes in like that. Yeah, happy with that. Do the same on this end plate, same procedure. Because the ply is starting to straighten itself out again, now the pressure has been removed. So make an end, got an end piece for here. Same thing. Draw it on. Get the curvature that I'm looking for. Just check that it matches. It's a little bit beaten away there. Yeah, glue that on to this end this time, obviously. Get that glued on. And it will need a cross piece here, and this will actually need one to relieve the pressure. Yep, quite happy with that. Cross piece, I'll have a look in the scrap box, see what I can find. Make a cross piece to hold it all rigid so that it can stand being taken in and out. And then I'll drill a couple of holes and we'll put the magnets in. We'll have a look at how that comes together. I've made the hatch now. You can see there's a magnet here and a one here and a corresponding magnet on the hatch itself. Now, back in the day, this would have had to have been screwed in or pinned in or held down with elastic bands. But now, you can use these and you can see, and here, a very satisfying snap back into position. Once that's covered, at the very worst, it'll look like a panel on the side of the engine being the exhaust area. So that's that part solved. The next issue is to actually look at the front nose area. Now I had contemplated replacing this and doing it in wood because I have done that through necessity with the other Flair D7 that I actually own. Because it was so badly damaged when I got it, I had to build it up. But I'm going to use this, why not? That needs to be installed. It needs to be fuel proof and little blocks inserted in here, I think. And of course I'll have to cut out this area to put the grill in for the cooling system. And that goes on rather neatly there. So that's the next task, and we'll start cracking on with that in a more. Okay, as I said, the next task is to cut this area out here, which will have the mesh in, which is such an iconic look for the Fokker D7. I'm going to drill out the corners and then cut with a knife across the straight bits. Make sure that the bits are secured in the drill is a good point, isn't it? Let's try that again. The crunching sounds a bit alarming, isn't it? Higher speed. And as this is a vacuum formed part, there are areas where the plastic is thicker than others. I'm going to saw through that bit there, that bit there, do the same on this side. Missed a corner here. I'll score this with a knife now, and then we'll hopefully be able to crack this out. Let's get at it. This is the front nose end cleaned up, and as you can see, I've just pushed in the grating, shall we call it. I'm just going to mark out the position that I need to take out for the engine itself. I'm just going to use an old pair of scissors to get that cut out. I haven't trimmed anything off it yet. This is as it comes in the kit, so could do without doing that, but never mind. So I'll trim that out. You don't use the best scissors for this, I would recommend. Right, now we'll push it in again. Forcing that round it, the corner. And I'll use a ruler to tuck it in nice and although it's going to be glued in, most of what will happen is it'll hold itself in because of the way I've pushed this in. I'm going to use some epoxy to glue through the mesh and onto the Steri-plastic, and then we trail it up. I'll just tilt the camera. There we go. It'll fit on like that. Starting to look the business if I do that. I need to put a little bit of packing inside here before I screw this on. And I'm not going to, am I going to? Yeah, I think I can screw it on actually. So I'll get this epoxied in place and then we'll get it screwed on. Well, on reflection, I'm going to do a slightly different approach to installing this grill. Rather than just jamming the surplus in, I've actually cut it to fit inside the vacuum formed recess. And I'm going to use a combination, I think, of some offcut from this, and I've also got the cut out, you can see the angle there, and I'm going to super glue to tack it and use some plastic cement to weld this plastic to that plastic, holding everything in place. Now you have to take a little bit of care using this stuff, because if you go crazy with it, you'll melt it right through to the other side. But it's trimmed to size now. It's an accurate fit. It fits in the recess nicely. So I'll start with this top piece. I've cut off the surplus, the surplus from the outtake, and hopefully this will match up nicely and enough for me to sort of jam it in place. That's where you need 3 hands really. Right, I'm just going to tack it with super glue initially. I could probably use the super glue throughout, but the only trouble with super glue is it gives a slightly brittle join, if it joins at all. And this has been a little bit reluctant to give it a spray. And then I'm going to apply the weld to help hold the plastic in place. Yeah, that's started to work. So you apply it with a brush. And you have to hold it down. It says 10 seconds. It takes a little longer than that. So I'll go all the way around, get this glued in, then we'll have a look at the finished item. Well, there we have it. In the end, I've just gone for using the scrap and I've glued that in. And that means that the screening can't go anywhere. I think at some stage I may put some epoxy over the top of this, but in all honesty, it's probably not needed. So the next thing to do will be to drill out and tap these in, line it up as best I can. And does the engine still come out? Of course, that's an important point. Yes, I can get that out. That's great. Okay, so I'll get these drilled out, ready to take the screws. I've reinforced behind them with some plywood so that it doesn't rip through the steri. And they're sitting on this plywood surround. It's important that you don't have a gap, because if it pulls right through the steri, there's nothing holding it on. And that's part of the damage that was done to the model that I inherited. So happy with that up to now. We'll get it screwed, tapped and lined up, and then it's starting to look like a Fokker D7. Cool. And there we have it, folks. That's the nose end, the blunt end of this Fokker D7 done. The vacuum formed nose is on. I've made access to allow installation of the engine and removal if required. I just need to paint up the inside for the new bits of wood that I've added on. Happy with that. Next task perhaps, I'll make the dummy engine. I don't know yet. I might, just for a bit of light relief, make both of the machine guns and make the structure that's going to fit in there, and then put it in a little Tupperware box and put it to one side. We'll see. But I hope you've enjoyed that, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see the continual journey of this build and other adventures, then please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Good flying, folks. Bye now.